Hello, class. This is Scott Caruso from MDF 1302 with my week 4 reflection video. Of the 4 weeks, I felt this one was among the easier, not because the work was necessarily any easier. I mean, I had my challenges this week like any other week, just simply trying to wrap my brain around the concepts and really make sure I implemented the new concepts in a meaningful way. But that because I had learned so much in the previous weeks, I really find myself being able to try new things and new methods of solving problems in my code, which I will show you in a second. But it's really kind of exciting getting to that point where I'm able to do that. And I felt like this week more than any, I was able to rely on more things that I knew to solve problems, or at least things that I was aware existed to solve problems, than having to rely on outside resources to get things done. And that was really cool. So let's go take a look at what I built for this week, and we will talk about it. So here's the simple application that I built for this week. What it does is it goes to a website called GovTrack, and pulls down an XML file. They have a very large, an API that has a very large database of presidents and senators and congresspeople and the terms they serve, tons and tons of information. And I simply pull down this XML file that lists all of the past presidents of the United States. It queries their database and grabs that, then sorts through the list, alphabetizes it, and then drops them into the list view here that you see. If you go to an individual item on the list, let's say ancient relative of mine, James Buchanan, it takes you to a page with the actual XML object that is made up by Mr. Buchanan, along with a picture that I've taken from the White House, or image courtesy of the White House. You can return to the list as you would expect, and it repopulates the list for you. Go to a different one like Jimmy Carter, and same thing. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you have a second item here. On the second page, it's simply a dump of the entire GovTrack XML file. It's a very large file that gets pulled in, but this is the raw file that we're parsing to get all of the data. So let's take a look at the code. There's two areas in particular I want to focus on where I think I could have done better, or that I solved problems in a more creative way than I may have liked. First, here on my main table view, this right here is the found characters function. This is where once it identifies that it's at a certain area in the code, pulls out the code and does something with it, pulls out the element that it's on and does something with it. Here at the very end, if it's on a particular element in the code, it pulls out a string and adds it to a dictionary of all the presidents. So essentially, you've got the president's name as the key, and the URL to a direct link to his GovTrack page on another page, or on the object. However, when I tried to add it like that with the president name as the key and the link as the object, I was getting there was a problem where it was overwriting the link for every key, no matter who the president was in that list. So I had to switch them up and actually set the links as the keys and the president names as the object. And if you scroll up here, I then take that and grab all the keys that I learned about the all keys for object method on NS Dictionary this week, and pull that out, and I'm able to determine which president key we're talking about, and then get the president and the URL that way, which I can then pass into the view controller, or the president detail view controller. So that is one area where I feel like my code could be improved if I could actually make the dictionary work the way I want it to, so it doesn't need to query quite as in quite a confusing manner, but it still works. So it's I guess it's good in that sense, just not necessarily great. The other area that's not so great, and that's more of just an effective time more than anything else. Let's pop back to the simulator real quick. If you look in the list, is if you have two presidents with the same name, George Bush and John Adams jump out as the most obvious examples. Um, they would have had two exact duplicate entries here in this list. Given a little bit more time, I would have created a special code to format their names in such a way so you'd be able to tell the difference between, say, George Herbert Walker Bush and George W. Bush, or James Buchanan, or John Adams, or John Quincy Adams. Not having that time, and I wanted to make sure I fulfilled the requirements of the project, I instead go through the list and remove duplicate entries. So we actually only have one of the George Bushes, as an example, George W. Bush. Unfortunately, Poppy Bush, HW, does not make the cut. But that is something I would most definitely improve in future iterations of this, is the ability to have those multiple records in here and pull up the correct one. So that, in a nutshell, was my week 4 project. Hope everyone else had a great week 4 and a great class. I will talk to you again real soon.